3 years ago, most of the monsters from normal portals were subjugated. After that, the world began to fear the power of hunters, so some countries tried to eradicate the hunters, but they failed miserably. Because of that, hunters all over the world who saw this either reached an agreement with their nation, coexisted, or they conquered the country by force, each obtaining supremacy in their own way. It is revealed that one of the countries by the hunters was, and the reason was simple. The prime minister wasn't his rank hunter. He was aggressive even before awakening, and after the hunter system appeared, he tried to take control of South Korea. However, that ambition was being hindered because of a monster. The elite awakeners, seeing the monster regenerating, are surprised, and they ask to leave that being with them, and two of them reach to attack. But before they attack, Ji-young grabs the head of one while cutting off the others. Moreover, the one whose head was grabbed was crushed immediately. The other hunters saw this, leaving them impressed, and at the same time angry, since their companions were eliminated. But before they could do anything, the Prime Minister shouts that from now on, he will eliminate anyone who takes a step. This leaves everyone scared. Meanwhile, Ji-young and the Prime Minister exchange glances. It is at that moment that in a memory, a place with snow is revealed, and a man asks a boy what he is doing there. That man was Ryuzaki Judo, and the boy, seeing him, questions who he is. The man doesn't answer that, but says it's cold. Wrapping the boy, he asks him to accompany him. On the way, he asks the boy's name, and looking at him, the boy responds that is the swordsman who lost his head. That enrages Judo, who, in a few seconds, begins to attack the bone monster. He attacks with fiery fists, managing to make a hole in the monster's chest, causing it to fall in pain. After that, the man gathers fire energy in his mouth, releasing it on the monster, completely melting it. This was witnessed by the other hunters, who were astonished, as it was something they expected from the Prime Minister, who, by the way, was watching the melted bones. It is then that he goes to grab his friend's head, but then he notices something, and it's the bone monster, which was rising from the fire, regenerating every part that had melted before. Ryuzaki Juto, seeing this, has another memory of when they eliminated all the resistance, and he apologizes for having forced his protege to do these things, to which he responds that it's okay. The man, with a determined look, says that they have just conquered Japan, and now they will take South Korea and China. He warns the boy that they could die the next time they fight a group, and if he wants, he can stop following him. However, the young man says that it was him who took him in when he was about to sleep forever on the street, and for that, he will be in his debt for the rest of his life. But he wishes to ask something, and that is when all this is over, to be given permission to call him father. The man replies that he is close-minded and adds that even without asking, he already is his son. Returning to the present, the battlefield has changed, and right at that moment, a girl with ice abilities freezes the lava that was around. Then she looks at the fight between the two monsters. Bones takes a few steps back, and that's when a volcano explodes. So Yuto reveals a complete transformation of his body, which was wrapped in magma and fire, and immediately hurls magma at the monster, starting to melt. Just at the moment, he jumps to attack the man, but before reaching him, he is thrown far away by a pillar of fire used by Yuto, sending him to the mouth of the volcano, which also explodes, toasting him even more. Everyone was looking at the volcano, revealing that it was so large it could be seen from far. After that, Juto looks at his adversary, who was sinking his bones into the lava. It is at that moment that he calls Hanami, and she appears before him. The man asks for her hand, then she removes the glove, beginning to freeze where she touched, extending the freezing to the volcano, cooling the lava. Before leaving, Juto says that he will melt there forever, showing us that Ji-young's hand was trapped, leaving his body heated in magma. Changing location, in South Korea, at the Kang Guild, something seems to be happening, and a woman was healing someone, revealing to us that the Diamond Youth is being healed. Opening his eyes at the volcano, Juto mentions that only a minimal number of people will stay behind and the rest will return, which everyone confirms. Meanwhile, on Ji Young's side, he reflects on how horrible it is, moving his hand and hitting the ice. He knows that the lava is like the one inside, recalling that in a lava pit, surrounded by monsters, a skeletal hand emerges, and it's Ji Young, revealing that this is something he has experienced tens of thousands of times. Now, in the present, under the lava, he forces himself forward, breaking his bone and freeing himself. He reflects that even after experiencing it multiple times, the pain never lessens. He screams under the lava. Then, he places his leg on the hardened lava and pushes away, gaining enough momentum to crash into the crystal and free himself. The girl catches Yuto's attention, and he asks her to gather the hunters and hide. Immediately, he jumps towards the hardened crust. The girl can do only watch. Recalling when she asked if he wasn't exaggerating, saying that magma regeneration isn't omnipotent, he then responds that among the 4 great hunter nations, United States, China, Russia, and Japan, they are the weakest. And if they can't absorb South Korea, there won't be another way for them to survive. Then Hanami approaches and says that many of her hunters will also die, but he argues that he can fight more, even if his body is destroyed. He will protect his country, transforming and sending Bones far away. Then he immediately jumps towards him, hitting him and embedding him in the wall. Right after, he grabs him and throws him far, but Bones manages to. However, Yuto prepares a fire attack, shooting it at the monster, which tried to protect itself. Unfortunately, its bones melt. To finish the combo, the man jumps, falling like a meteor onto Ji Young, triggering the volcano. Haname tells the other hunters that the Prime Minister ordered them to evacuate and that she will stay behind, ordering everyone, but someone apologizes and says that everyone has received help from the Prime Minister. In the end, everyone declares they will protect Ryuzaki Juto, who, by the way, was dragging the monster deep into the volcano, tearing it apart until there was nothing left. Juto remains motionless for a few seconds, while the other hunters wait. However, Ji Young begins to regenerate over the man, heading toward the surface. He saw it, but it was too late, as the monster managed to fully emerge, enraging him. But before he noticed, the monster heads towards Hanami, grabbing her by the arm and dragging her into the volcano, freezing the monster in the process. However, as mentioned before, the Prime Minister didn't see it coming. At that moment, he emerges with an ability already prepared, while the other hunters chase the monster in an attempt to rescue Hanami. Everything seemed to end there, but Yuto bit his lip to hold back the attack, and with his arm, he manages to cut the monster and free his wife. Unfortunately, the monster takes advantage of the distraction, and all the hunters prepared their attacks, and Hanami managed to touch the skeletal hand, freezing it completely and receiving the attack. It shattered it entirely. In a rush to see if she is okay, they throw the frozen remains into the lava, but the woman is unable to speak as she sees her beloved's lifeless body approaching. She notices that the head was frozen. This leaves everyone upset, but with no time to process such a feeling, as they hear something, and it's the monster regenerating and starting to walk toward them. The woman is in tears, and Ji Young is in front of her, fainting from everything that's happening. Then she begins to dream. He says it's okay and that he's there, kissing her. But in that beautiful moment, the woman opens her eyes, seeing her beloved's head frozen, and waking up to reality, seeing that all the hunters she had were eliminated. She can only look at him, then divert her gaze to her hands, and with the touch of her palm, she freezes herself, ending her life in front of. After all that, Bones returns to the portal. The scene changes to South Korea, more precisely, to the Kyumkang Guild, in a mana stone storage room, where a woman tells Tai-Su that he can't overexert himself, that he was the only one left with mana, and that's why they managed to save him, but his friends weren't as lucky. The girl asks for the reason, and he replies that the boy he used to play with in his youth escaped from the blood gate and eliminated him. While recalling his face, he curses him, calling him a bastard. At that moment, he removes his outfit, revealing himself as the guild master and his S-rank hunter, Han Taeso, whose sword is Manhwa. Immediately after, he orders that the seal be. After a long process, the girl manages to break the seal. After that, the young man asks to gather all the members of the Kayum-kan Guild. One of the members bows, saying he is at his service, while some question whether the master had not died. But it is then explained that the vice master of the guild revived him. The vice master informs that the monster has moved to the gate after the massacre in Japan. Additionally, he talks about the meaning of everyone. It is obvious since he wants to eliminate the monster. Upon hearing that, the vice master states that his intelligence team has sworn under penalty of death that they will be of great help. But soon after saying that, he loses his head. That scene is witnessed by his team as Taesu absorbs his power. One of the boys calls for his master, and he responds that the guy he has now was originally the vice president of the Korean Hunters Association. Since he absorbed the association 3 years ago, the Kayum-kan Guild has been able to dominate Korea. He adds that this guy's ability is S-rank telekinesis. Activating that ability, he eliminates the person who called him, exploding and causing a red rain. Before all of that happens, the woman by his side asks if he really wants to remove the seal, explaining that his ability is cursed. But in the present, Taesu thinks that's not the case, that his ability is the best. He then asks the others if they want to be of help. That causes the Kayum-kan Guild to be completely annihilated that day. It is revealed that Taesu was the cause of all of this since he was absorbing the abilities of the members. The woman who removed the valet asks if he is okay, to which he responds no, and that the monster eliminated the S-rank prime minister, considering that it's still not enough power. He thinks about eliminating the worm at all costs, but then refines that idea, calling it by its name, Kang Ji-hyung. At the same time, he declares, in another location, Lee Yumin stands before a portal from which Husos emerges. She welcomes him. At the Korean Hunters Association building, Yumin reflects that the healing process has begun immediately, explaining that her S-rank healing restores the damaged cells one by one using her mana. Ji-hyung knows it will take time, but she can definitely save her. He carefully observes the treatment of his mother. After some time, Yumin leaves and mentions that if she does this every day, his mother will wake up next week. Collapsing immediately due to forcing her ability, Ji-hyung, seeing her, comments that it seems to cost an extraordinary amount of mana. He asks why she goes so far to do this. She grabs his hand and responds that she does it because he has to survive. Activating his ability, that scares Husos, who immediately pulls his hand away. Yumin says it was as she expected, that his beastification process has progressed inside the blood gate. She explains that since the gate first appeared 15 years ago, all the other gates have slowly turned them into blood gates. However, since Ji-hyung escaped from one, the change has accelerated, and as a result, all the gates in the world are becoming blood gates. She adds that the mana flowing from them is giving him strength. She further explains, in terms of mana flow, that if a normal gate is a hole, a blood gate is a passage. This means it's connected to somewhere, and something is passing through it, and that something is searching for him. Revealing that multiple monsters will start emerging from the red gates. This will cause a wave of destruction in the cities where they appear, making civilians flee and wonder what these things are. In a scene change, in the office of the President of South Korea, which is protected by a barrier, someone shouts, questioning what is happening. They ask why the Kayum-kan Guild isn't responding. That's when another man repeats that it's because the guild has been annihilated, leaving the questioner speechless. Faced with this situation, the man who seems to be the secretary asks what they should do and suggests it might be wise to seek help from abroad. However, the man who appears to be the president rejects that option, arguing it would be equivalent to self-destruction. He quickly adds that they will first declare martial law, something his secretary seems to doubt, as the army won't be effective against the Dementors. This angers the president since there is no other option, and they must do something. He adds that the Kayumkan Guild isn't all they have, as Korea's second-ranked guild, Dosa, Korea's third-ranked guild, Vino, the fourth-ranked, the Yonghak Guild. However, all those guilds were defeated by a beast that emerged from a red portal. Ji-young witnessed it all, wondering if it was all his fault. Lee Yumin doesn't confirm, but questions what he will do now. At that moment, a girl falls in the middle of the street, nearly crushed, but luckily, Husos appears and cuts the monster in half. Reflecting that when he died inside the Red Gate, Amana tried to turn him into a monster, but he managed to endure, which is why he obtained an abnormal regeneration ability. Or at least, that's what he thought, but it turns out that wasn't the case. He knows that the mana won't let him go until it turns him into a complete monster. However, he reflects that he's finally trying to live a peaceful life after his mother is treated. However, in the present, he's fighting and shouts why they can't leave him alone as he eliminates a monster. Nevertheless, he was being watched, and someone asks if it's him, that someone is a bone monster sitting in a creepy chair, who, by the way, questions whether it was him who caused the crack. We're done with this week's chapter. If you made it this far, comment chickpea salad. Also, don't forget to subscribe and like us so YouTube keeps recommending us. Thanks to everyone who watched this far. See you in the next video. But first, I leave you the next chapter and a comic that I'm sure you'll like.